You know, there have been so many phenomenal talks today about some funny, some inspirational, some informative. Well, I'm up here to talk about robots. So let's just jump right into it. Almost 70 years ago, in the year 1946, the first general-purpose electronic computer was released to the general public. Well, not even 10 years later, in the mid-1950s, a man by the name of Alan Turing posed to the world the question, can machines think? Well, today, 70 years later, I pose to you all the same question. Can our phones, our tablets, our computers, and some of our refrigerators, can they think? Well, this seems like a ridiculous question to ask, but with today's current boom of technology and computers and all the like, the question's going to start coming up more and more as the years pass and become more and more prevalent. Well, as any good scientist would, Mr. Turing came up with a test to test his idea that machines could in fact think. And this test came to be known as the Turing test. Yeah, after his name, because 1950s computer programmers were not extremely creative. In essence, this was a test to see whether or not a computer would have the intelligence that would match that or exceed that of a human interrogator. The setup of this test is quite simple. On one side of the computer screen, there would be a human interrogator, and on the other side of the computer screen, there would be two subjects, one being a computer or a program, the machine, and another being a human or another subject. So after a few minute questioning period by the interrogator through the computer screen via typing, the interrogator will be asked to see whether or not he can differentiate between the computer and the human. And if the interrogator is not able to differentiate which one is which, and the computer has fooled him, then the computer is said to have passed Mr. Turing's test and be of an intelligence equal to or superior to that of the interrogator. Now, in the 1950s, Mr. Turing's test was far past his time, and there was not any computer program that was able to even come close to passing with an over 50% success rate. However, in the years recent, there have been plenty of computer programs that have been able to pass Mr. Turing's test with a moderate success rate. However, they're under different rules, so to speak, now. In the year 1980, a man by the name of Hugh Loebner created an annual prize, cash prize, given out to computer programmer or programmers that can come up with the computer program that can pass Mr. Turing's test with a large success rate. And this prize came to be known as the Loebner Prize. Yes, again after his name, because 1980s computer programmers weren't extremely creative either. Now, there have been plenty of computer programs that have been able to win this prize and pass Mr. Turing's test. However, I wouldn't classify them certainly as artificial intelligence. They're merely computer programs that have been creatively coded by very talented coders that have been able to fool a human into thinking it was a human, which is a very complex task for a computer to do. However, the computer still has dependency upon its human coder to give it initiative and such of that nature. However, I pose the question, what happens when a computer doesn't need a human to act on its own initiative? What happens when it can alter its own code and create its own element to itself? Well, when I describe this, I can imagine some of the nerds in my audience are thinking of the Terminator, or Skynet, or Ultron, or any other handful of Hollywood movies that have created this idea. And you're not entirely wrong. In today's field of artificial intelligence, this type of machine would said to be recursively self-improving, or for short, a seed AI. Now, in nature, this is a computer program that can alter its code and alter its initiative to be that of bigger, better, faster, stronger, and more intelligent intents. For an example, if I were to put a computer program at the helm of a factory that, say, manufactures envelopes, if that computer program was recursively self-improving, then it would be able to notice that the machinery at its works are not exactly efficient, and it would alter them and alter itself so that it can output the most amount of envelopes that it was given, or its initiative. Now, as Hollywood knows, this is a very scientific question, and this seems like the technology we have nowadays wouldn't even come close to creating something like this. However, artificial intelligent programmers have been able to create something very similar to this type of machine. However, it's only not a seed AI in nature because it can only make itself faster. It can't make itself more intelligent or stronger or better in any way, only quicker. Now, the computer program still has dependency, and it's still needed. The computer programmer is still needed to give it initiative and stuff like that. However, with our current boom of computing and all the like, this technology is up and coming, and it's becoming more and more quickly upon us. Now, as I describe this, people are probably thinking, oh, we still have a millennia, if not a century at least, to cover these problems, because we're not going to have the technology to create them in such a quick amount of time. However, scientists in the field of artificial intelligence have narrowed down a year for the first artificially intelligent machine to come into the works. And no, this year isn't 100 years from now, it's not even 50 years from now. The date that they've set is the year 2029. Not even 20 years into the future, we could have an artificially intelligent machine on our hands that's capable of passing Mr. Turing's test and could potentially be recursive and self-improving. Now, there isn't any fathoming the amount of problems that this can solve or the technological breakthrough that this would be for the human race. This would be the largest technological breakthrough since the age of the cavemen when put in proportion. It isn't even a question of how we can do it or when we can do it or what we would do with it. After we know that this is the date that's set, we need to start asking ourselves, should we do this? Is this something that we need to see come to fruition? Humans are a very creative and curious species, and our creativity is mostly seen in a positive light. However, in this type of conversation, human curiosity has come to fruition the most destructive weapons of mass destruction that this world has ever seen. And this would probably be one of the last things we would ever need to create. And that's a quote by Mr. Irving John Good that said, "The first ultra-intelligent machine is the last invention that man need never make." Mr. Good brings to light a very unique point, because this is a very prevalent question when thinking about artificial intelligence. If we were to create something of this nature, then there wouldn't be anything to stop it from completely leaving us in the dust of intelligence and improving itself to complete perfection in a sense. After we ask ourselves, should we do this? How can we do this? When can we do this? What would this do? The scary question that comes to light is, are we destined to do this as a species? Are we metaphorically meant to create and become the machines that we so desperately want to create? This is something that, well, it's a tough subject to cover just because it's very philosophical and a lot of things come to fruition with it. However, our generation, the generation of teens in high school today, is a generation that are going to need to answer these questions. And if we wait 20 years, 50 years to ask them, then in 100 years, there may not be any people around to ask them or answer them for that matter. And that's it. Thank you.